Please be seated. Today we remember Lydia from Thyatira, who Paul meets in the city of Philippi. She was a seller of purple cloth. She's the first European convert of record to Christianity. Also the first non-Jewish person of record. Also she was not Jewish, which shows how the church, in spreading throughout the Roman Empire, is now, when the early Christians were all Jewish to begin with, has spread beyond converting people in synagogues and Jewish people to non-Jewish worshipers to follow the teachings of Christ. And so Lydia falls into those categories. And women played such an incredible role in the early church. So we know there were women deacons. In fact, the earliest tile depiction, I'm drawing a blank, tile wall of communion that shows the celebrant at communion looks clearly like a woman, which is incredibly interesting to know that one of the oldest depictions that you kind of have to argue that she's not to say that she wasn't. I mean, it so clearly seems to be a woman in that, which shows the influence in women. When Paul wrote their letter to the Romans, he mentions 15 women and 18 men, so almost the same number of women and men as to the church in Rome. And so why were women so attracted to Christianity? When we look at the demographics, they played a huge role in the growth of the early church. One reason was they were held in higher regard than Roman society. So they had a higher status in the community than Romans did. And so they forbid, Christianity did not allow female infants. Infanticide was not allowed for female infants, which was very common in Roman society. Roman law allowed girls to be married at the age of 12 or to be given in marriage at the age of 12. And an early study done in a couple of cities showed that almost half of girls in these two cities were married by the time they were 14, generally to men in their 20s. So you could see how society would say, oh, women don't, my wife doesn't know anything. Well, if you're 12 years older, or whatever, it just, you can see how that reinforces itself. In Christianity in these cities, over half weren't married till after they were 18. So you see a whole difference in it, rather than seeing a girl as a burden to be given to somebody to marry, as someone to be treasured and hopefully find someone that they can have a relationship with. Men and women worship together, unheard of in Roman society. So if you're meeting all these guys and you're saying, hey, mom and dad, I think this guy would be a better fit for me, right? So, I mean, just socially, there were these other opportunities for women. In fact, the role of women grows so much that in the year 370, the Roman emperor sent a letter to the Pope forbidding Christian missionaries to evangelize non-pagan women because so many were converting to the faith. So it got to the highest order of government to say, wait, we can't have women becoming Christians, and we forbid it's against the law for you to call on that. And so you can see this tremendous influence in women, and women still today, obviously, we know play an incredible role in the church and are fundamental in allowing it to grow and to prosper. And so women are important. We treasure women. Women are great to have in church. They're a foundation stone of the Christian community. So I'll leave it at that. Remember Lydia, the first woman by name that we have outside of Jerusalem converting to Christianity.